Welcome, everybody, and thank you all for chiming in. I appreciate that. We are going to talk about a couple things this evening that I think will be important to your ultimate marathon. One, we want to talk a little bit about the course. We're going to talk a little about logistics, and we're talking about a little bit about taper. We talked a little about tape. We talked a lot about taper last week. We're just going to just kind of review it really, really quickly. And at any rate, so here we go. Let me pin myself. There we go. Now you can see me. So here we go. And thank you all for chiming in. And if you have a body, you are an athlete. I always like starting with that idea. All of you are about to do a marathon. You are all an athlete. Some people can't say, I am an athlete. You guys absolutely are, all of you. That's me. That's the book I co-wrote. And here we go. Saturday, all of you, all locations, we are going, if you show up live, you are going to get this very certificate. It's printed, it's on paper. Please take one. You can throw it up on your refrigerator. I know people who have framed it and still have it from last year, the year before that. It's got our current LA Roadrunner logo on it. You can see March 8th. It's this year's date. But yeah, throw it up on a wall somewhere or your refrigerator with some magnets just to remind yourself, darn it, you are ready. And that is an important thing because we're going to talking about taper, which is coming up next week. Certainly everybody starts taper at some point of next week, which we'll discuss in a moment. But you have almost reached the peak. You are almost ready. All you got left, pretty much, is taper, depending on the group that you're in. So get one of these. It'll all locations. It'll be by at the end wherever our finished table is, where the bananas are and all that. Saturday, Sunday, whatever location we will have. I have hundreds of these already printed up. They're sitting behind me. Anyway, so there you go. Um, like I said, let's talk about two really big mistakes that you can make in the next few weeks before the marathon. And then we're going to talk about the actual race course itself and finish up what we started last week. Um, Doing too much during the final taper. You can gain more during the taper, the final 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks, depending on the group you're in, which we'll discuss later in this talk. Uh, you can gain more during the final couple weeks of taper than you can most of the big single weeks of build. Let me say that again. You can gain more energy output for race day during the final taper than you can, and we're going to talk about this a little bit. I'll show you a graph again, that than you can in any other point in any single week during your training. So, as one very important coach, I forgot who said this right now. I think it was Mark Allen said this. Whatever you do, don't screw up the taper. Okay. If you screwed up everything else, fine. Don't screw up the taper. And I'll mention this again later in my talk because it is so important. It takes 10 to 14 days. Let me repeat, 10 to 14 days for an exercise to change your physiology. In other words, 10 to 14 days before that exercise becomes something that you benefit from on race day. So if 2 weeks from now you decide to do 1 week before the LA Marathon, you decide, oh, I haven't built up enough. I'm going to do an 18 miler next weekend and then a 20 miler the weekend after, 1 week before the LA Marathon. Um, you will gain from that, certainly, if you're doing Boston in April. Okay, maybe not, if LA Marathon is not your A race, not your more important race, but maybe Boston in April is a more important race, and you're doing LA Marathon as kind of a slow endurance run, way slower, a minute to a minute and a half slower than we would normally run. Even that, I would question the full 26 miles is kind of like costing you more than what you will gain. But if you wanted to do that, because LA Marathon's a great, fun race, I love it, and you were doing a race after that, then yeah, maybe, but a 20 miler a week before LA. But certainly you won't gain from that 20 miler until after the LA Marathon. Got it? Until like a week late, 2 weeks later, or in this case, a week after the LA Marathon if you do it a week before. So don't do a 20 miler a week before the LA Marathon expecting anything but causing you to be slower and you're still going to be recovering and not gaining. It takes 2 weeks. Got it? Okay. The other thing is make sure, and we're going to dive right into the race itself next, but make sure that your first 6 miles, do the math now, and I said this in our last week, but I'm saying it again. Make sure for most of your groups, your first 6 miles are 5 to 10% slower. For example, right here, do the math. It's right in front of you. If you were a 10-minute mile group or a roughly 10-minute mile pace group, I use that only because it's simple math. Uh, the first 6 miles, which I'll show you, is right alongside halfway down. You come across Echo Park Pond, and then you go across the long way of Echo Park Pond. Halfway down the side of Echo Park Pond before you hit sunset, the end is kind of the 10K mark. The halfway point, you'll see a sign. Every mile is marked on the LA Marathon course. About halfway down is mile 6. If you hit mile 6 and you're a 10-minute per mile group, you'd normally want to be at mile like 60 minutes, right? But let's say if you add 5 to 10%, that's somewhere between 3 and 6 more minutes, or about 4.5 more minutes, or roughly, you'd want to be at about 64 minutes, 30 seconds, or definitely at least minimum 63 to 66 minutes at the 6 mile mark if you're a 10-minute per mile group. Obviously, if you're 11 or if you're a minute per mile group, or if you're an 8 minute per mile group, things change. Do the math, multiply your pace times 6 and see where that is, then add 5 to 10%. Now, if you are a 4 hour, meaning 9 minute, roughly 9:09 or 9 minute group or faster, you'd want to be more like a 2.5 to 5%, 2.5 to 5% slower. Okay. So that's not that much slower at let's call it 9 minute pace, which is group 4, the 4 hour group. 9:09 is their actual pace, to anything faster. Or if you are one of the slower walk groups, walk 3 or slower, you're about a 6:30 or slower run, walk, or walk group, 6:30 finish time or slower. That's walk 1 and 2 are actually faster than that, regardless. Um, you also would want to be at about 2.5 to 5% slower in the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon. Regardless, hopefully you do the math, and when you hit mile 6, hopefully you're in that range where you want to be. That's really important. You don't want to be faster than where that range is where you want to be, or you made a mistake. Take in an extra gel. You can make up for that mistake by taking in an extra gel. Um, take in an extra carbohydrate, in other words. Take in a little more electrolyte, which has carbs in it. But regardless, and I'll show you. Well, let's dive into the actual route. I'm gonna stop sharing this, and I'm gonna share the actual map. And here it is. Hopefully, you guys can see this. Here we go. Yeah. Hopefully you can see this, the LA Marathon route and the elevation chart right below it. So whoops, see, let's start kind of zoom in right here. Um, Here's the stadium. You can see actually the starting line is right back here on the stadium. This year, a lot of programs will actually enable us to draw in the stadium, but when this was done, you couldn't draw in the stadium. But just a really quick overview of what we talked about last week in the first 6 miles, just so you're really thinking about it, because I really want to hammer home the importance of the first 6 miles. Right here, right out of the gate, that area there is about a third of a mile uphill. You're going about 30, 40 feet uphill. It's a good steep up climb in the first third of a mile. Okay. That may not sound like much, but it is. We've run it. We ran it last Saturday. Um, right out of the gate. We started on the start line last Saturday. Right out of the gate, it's about 30, 40 foot climb in a third of a mile. That's a lot. Your heart rate is already elevated unless you held back more than that percentage is the whole 6 miles of the first 6 miles there, um, until right about halfway through Echo Park Pond. There's Echo Park Pond. That's right where my hand is the cursor is where the 6 mile mark is. Regardless, you're already starting possibly people make this mistake. They're already starting, going out way too fast. You hear "I love LA" booming over the 80s song, booming over the loudspeakers. The gun goes off. The helicopters flying overhead. It's really exciting. People go out way too fast up that hill. And then there's a little dip going down Vin Scully Way. Then you have this long downhill to here. Right there is the gates to Chinatown. And you'll hear people, you tell me if you don't hear somebody screaming at you, "Take the downhill, use the downhill," something like that. And their heart rates are still elevated way too long. You got about a mile plus to that gate. It's flat around Chinatown, and you're already at about mile two, and your heart rate is already way too elevated. There's mile one and a half. Sorry, already at. Well, I take that back. With the extra third of a mile, you're almost at mile two. And your heart rate is still way too high, way too long, even though a big chunk of that is downhill. Listen to your breathing, listen to your breathing, listen to your breathing. Slow it down. If your group is going too fast and your breathing rate is indicative of your heart rate, you're using way too much glycogen. In 2 miles, you may have already thrown away from too high heart rate too long about a quarter of the glycogen that you got, and you're at mile two. I cannot tell you how important that is. And you don't feel it, but it's gone, right? Glycogen comes from carbs. Carbs come from gels, come from electrolytes, sport drink, whatever. Um, you're already a little low. Key is you don't want to do that. Right in here, another big important hill, 3rd Street, half a mile uphill. And then you go over to 1st Street, another half mile uphill. Right there is the Disney Hall and the taiko drummers, all these drummers. You'll hear it at the top of the hill. You'll see it at the top of the hill on the right side. The Disney Hall is kind of catty corner to your left in front of you. Then you take a right turn, Music Center to your left, and then you go way down this hill on Temple. You take a left turn way down the hill on Temple. Right here is an overpass, this street. I don't even know what the heck that is. Um, it might be a freeway or a street. I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, um, take my word for it. It's an overpass. You're going under the overpass. And right from that point, from there all the way up to the top of that hill, it's a good solid, what is that, like a 40 foot uphill for almost a mile there. Then you go over, this is the freeway, this 101. You're on top of an overpass now, going over the freeway. It's still uphill. And then halfway down this little side street here, you're still going up a hill. And you can see that ends, if you're looking at the elevation chart below, you can see right where that hill kind of peaks, flattens out. I guess it peaks right about there, something like that. And then it flattens out for a little bit. And then you have a nice glide downhill, if you're looking at the elevation chart right here, to right at the end, the bottom of Echo Park Pond. And then, whoops, let's get to there. And right at about halfway, Echo Park Pond, right about there. Where is it? Well, right about there, because keep in mind, you're missing like a third of the first the first third of a mile, something like that. Right around there is the 6 mile, and right about here at the end of Echo Park Pond is the 10K point. Then you have this little kicker uphill right here that takes you to Sunset. And that's where I want all of you. This is where tonight's talk really begins. That's where I mean, the talk about the route tonight begins. That's where I want all of you to take a personal physical assessment. Don't stop, but take a personal physical assessment. It's like, you know, I could have done, take a look at your watch possibly, but really right there, the mile 6 point right here, and then at the 10K, take a look at the math, right, on your watch. But right up here where you hit Sunset, this is Sunset right here. All of this is Sunset. Right when you hit the little top of that hill, it's a little point tenth of a mile uphill. There's a huge church right here to your right, right there. And then you have this tiny little tenth of a mile uphill to Sunset. Right there is Sunset, right? When you hit the top of that hill and you take a left on the Sunset, right where my hand cursor is, take an assessment. This is where I want you to be. I feel like I'm just getting started. I feel angry with David because I could have done the first all the way up till there way faster. Be thankful that you're angry with me, that you could have gone faster, and you feel like you're just getting started. If you feel like, oh my God, I'm like killed myself on those uphills, I'm exhausted, here's your problem. Very simply stated, you got 20 miles to go. Got it? And you're already a little tired. I mean, a little tired. Okay. Take in some more gels, whatever. And this taper week, we'll talk about in a minute, you might even do a little more strength training than usual. If you haven't done any strength training, maybe a little, we'll talk about that later. But take a personal assessment, really important, right at that point, which is about mile 6 1/10 or a third or whatever it is. Now, your head, there's an aid station right here. If you have any if by mile 6 1/2 or whatever it is, by mile 6 1/2, if you're really feeling you're in pain, hopefully not, but there is an aid station, meaning medical help. Okay, right there. That's what these little plus marks are, and we're going to hit a lot of them. By the way, all these little droplets of water, they mean tables, rows of tables. We didn't talk about this last week. You'll have a row of tables, and it'll be electrolyte, it'll be water and electrolyte and water and electrolyte and water. Every other table will be one or the other. Look for in the cups, I should have one. They're different this year. They're only 6 ounces. The white cups we used to have, that we will have on all of our training runs, the same white cups. Those are 8 ounce. This year, those are the cups from the past. This year we're using 6-ounce cups, which have the McCourt Foundation logo on it. That's this logo. You'll see that little orange logo on the cups. They'll be kind of like green and white cups. They're using these because they're biodegradable, where the cups in the past were really just they ended up on the trash pile somewhere. So we're really being far more ecological by using the cups this year. But note that because you may want to find electrolyte. I don't know that they're going to have their own cup this year. I don't know one way or another. But make sure if it's clear, it's water. If it's colored in some way, it's electrolyte. So make sure, and they'll call it out, electrolyte, water, electrolyte, they'll be handing you these 40 volunteers per aid station. Wherever you see one of these little droplets, that's electrolyte and water. Electrolyte and water will be at you know, every stop for water and electrolyte. They'll have both, every other table. If it's water, next table electrolyte. If it's electrolyte, next table is water. There you go. Okay, so we've gone beyond Echo Park. We're already well into the course. You got a nice little glide downhill, after you get to that little peak over here where you start on Sunset. You have a nice little glide downhill. But for there on in, all the way through, into Hollywood, you do have a little uphill here. Where is it? Like right around here, right mile like 8 3/4, somewhere in here. You're going to be running past Silver Lake. There's not a lot going on in there. Then you got in Hollywood this. It gets into rollers. Um, you start getting into these little, right about here, you start getting into the beginnings of Hollywood, and you got all these little tiny rollers. It's not unflat all the way through Hollywood. It's not completely flat, I should say. It's got these little rollers all the way through this area and here. Then you got it. Here you go. Orange. You take a left onto Orange. Yeah, it's upside down. You're going this way, obviously. You take a left onto Orange, and you're near Hollywood High School. That's a nice little glide downhill, but it's only like a solid block. And then you're on Hollywood Boulevard, and you're going past the Mann's Chinese Theater, and now you're kind of in Hollywood, and it's a little up and down right in there. As you can see, this whole area is a little up and then a little down. Right in here, this area is a little downhill. And then you hit Doheny. By the way, West Hollywood, have fun in West Hollywood. That may be one of my favorite. There are two favorites of the course. West Hollywood is one of my two favorite parts of the course um, because of the people. The people that really come out in West Hollywood. Um, and they're just cheering and screaming, and they're having their own little party going on at the side of the road. They used to have these amazing I love these guys, hence the term guys. Um, these guys who come out in drag as cheerleaders. They used to come out every year. I don't know if they're going to come back this year or not, but they were absolutely the best cheerleaders. I don't know if they have them again this year, but they used to have near Century City a bunch of real high school cheerleaders, and they were all sitting, the real ones near Century City were all standing there like, chewing their gum, and they were so boring. But the guys in West Hollywood, I swear to God, man, they might have even had better legs, dare I say, but all the people in West Hollywood were a blast and enjoy the screaming and the cheering and the cowbelling and all of that because, I'll get to the next one. Right here, you hit Doheny. Whoops. Right here, this right here I want to talk about. But before I talk about that major downhill, that street right there from Hollywood. Well, you go down Hollywood Boulevard, briefly on Santa Monica Boulevard, but you hit that downhill. It's about 30, 40 foot downhill in half a mile. That's a big downhill in half a mile. And I want to talk about the way you run it. But the extension from West Hollywood, right in this area in here where you hit, Beverly Hills, your kind of Santa Monica Boulevard, um, and then down in through here, uh, and into actual Beverly Hills itself on Burton Way. This area in here is so just disturbingly quiet. There are people lining the sides of the streets. It's gotten better over the last few years, I do confess, because friends and family will go to Beverly Hills to cheer their friends and family on. But in the past, it was like such the opposite of West Hollywood. It was people who were just standing there doing this, just total silence with an occasional cowbell and someone cheering on whatever. But take note of the enormous difference in culture between West Hollywood screaming and Beverly Hills, the quiet, relatively so. At any rate, let's go back to Doheny. Where are we here? You got it's where are we here? Where is Doheny anyway? Um, anyway, yeah, Santa Monica Boulevard and Doheny. So you got a good half mile downhill. Note there are aid stations here and at the bottom, but and water stations at the top and bottom, roughly. Every mile, you don't need to carry water. I mean, look at this. You got almost every mile. Here's 13, there's roughly 14. This one is roughly 15. Just about every mile, you got another aid station. Here's roughly 16. Every mile you got another, excuse me, water station, not aid station. There are a lot of aid stations, but roughly every mile has another water station. So no need to carry the backpack with water. You could carry the backpack with gels. If you do have something that you're drinking other than electrolyte, like I said, electrolyte is at every water station, every mile, pretty much. Um, if you are wanting to carry something other than that, in days gone by when they had Gatorade, which I cannot drink, I love electrolyte. I cannot drink Gatorade. I'm sorry. I hope to God we never have Gatorade back as a sponsor or I'm seriously in trouble. I say that openly. Good stuff, but I can't drink it. I would always carry fuel belt bottles on my hip. I had this elastic band with four 7-ounce bottles, two in the front, two in the back on my waist. And I would have the powder in those bottles because it would be something different from Gatorade. And every quarter of the race, I would fill them up one at a time. And as I ran, that one bottle that I filled up each quarter would shake itself up. So when I drank it, it would be shaken. And I'd drink one 7-ounce bottle per quarter of the marathon or per 10K of the marathon. And that worked really, really well for me. But electrolyte, I drink really well. I drink a ton of it. I have no problem. I would not wear a hydration belt or a hydration backpack or any of that for me. But if you have problems with electrolyte, by all means, I don't know of anybody that really has problems with electrolyte. I mean, maybe some people like one flavor over the other. I hear that a lot. I confess my favorite flavor is coconut. A lot of people, that's their worst favorite flavor, but I don't know anybody that really has a problem with any of the flavors, so to speak. But at any rate, Doheny, let's talk about downhill. Normally, your rhythm is something like this. When you're going down that big hill, and it is a steep hill, you don't want to burn out your knees. You don't want to get to the bottom with achy knees. You don't want to burn out your quads, the front of your thighs. Um, we use thighs, the quads, the muscles, the front of the thigh to stabilize ourselves on a downward fall. We also use that to extend ourselves upward. If you're jumping up or if you're pushing yourself up, we use your quads. Hopefully, by the end of the race, you're not sore in your quads. You may be sore everywhere, your glutes, your hamstrings. But if you're really, really, really sore only in your quads, you're quad dominant. And that means you're kind of pogo sticking your way, you're pushing yourself up as a means of going forward. At the end of this Saturday or this Sunday's 20-miler long run, if you're feeling it a lot in your quads and really nowhere else, you're quad dominant. Work on pushing yourself forward, not up and down. Got it? Um, you want to use your glutes and your hamstrings more. You can do some skipping drills where you're really low, not pushing yourself up skipping, but really low skipping drills. Just skip your way forward and try and maintain that low, not big height, but maintain kind of a little high, a little low. Not what we call what we call oh, what's the term? Anyway, you don't want to go up and down too much. Oscillation. You don't want to have high oscillation. At any rate, some of your Garmin watches or other watches will actually calculate oscillation for you. How high are you going up and down? You want to keep that to a minimum. But double time it. Don't bother pushing back. Don't do normal stride and push forward. Don't push back, which is generating forward thrust. You don't want to go push yourself forward by pushing back, right? Um, just pick your feet up and put them down really, really quick, just like double time it, not the normal run, but just like double time it. And you will find the more times your feet touch the ground, the more you're stabilizing your fall. You can go really, really quick down that hill at low heart rate because you're going down a hill by letting gravity take you down, but touch down more times, shorten, quicken your stride on Doheny. Really, really important. You'll see that big downhill, even if you don't notice the street sign, Doheny, you'll see it right at about mile 15 and a half, about mile 15 and a half. You're going to hit it right after you hit Santa Monica Boulevard for just a short stretch. And then you hit Doheny, that big half mile serious downhill. It's a pretty steep downhill. Then, of course, you hit Beverly Hills and the kind of nice, proper, quiet people. Um, and then this is the other favorite part of the course for me. Right in this area here, you'll note on the elevation chart right here, it is a slight downhill. It's a nice downhill glide right in there. Um, this, my friends, is some of the best window shopping on the planet. This is Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. We are running down, yep, you guessed it. It's actually, according to census polls taken of the people who have run the LA Marathon, this, believe it or not, they don't talk about it a lot, but this is basically statistically the favorite part of the course for everybody. And one reason we don't alter the course too much because people love Rodeo Drive. You can run down the street, window shop, and you can't buy anything because all the stores are closed. The coolest thing in the world, you can't spend a penny, but you can really dream about what you want to buy. You just can't buy it because they're all closed. But we run right down the center of the road. All these streets are closed, by the way. There's no portion of the street that's open anywhere on the route. They're all closed. We run right down Rodeo Drive. That's my second favorite part of the LA Marathon. Mine as well, I confess. Then you hit Wilshire, um, and somewhere around here, they always used to have The high school cheerleaders, bored to death. When the hell is this going to be over? Rah. Anyway, um, you just, I don't know. You just have to laugh. I did not see them last year, and I was at that corner. I did not see them. I don't know if they're coming back again this year or not. They just used to look so painfully bored. Um, um, Anyway, it is a slight uphill, slight, if you look at the elevation chart, real slight uphill towards Century City. And of course, right around here, right there is, if you look left, you will see the finish line. But you got about 8 miles left to go. You're like a right around mile 18. It shows on my thing right here, it's showing mile 26.2 because my cursor is on the finish. But you actually cross beyond the finish line. And yeah, no, it's mile 26. Trust me on this one. It's right around like mile 18.1. That's where we're at right now on the course, which is, let's go to the elevator. Let's go on the elevation chart so you'll really get to see it. Right around in there. So we're right about like 18.1, somewhere around there. Um, there is a slight downhill right here. This little street going up north and south is Beverly Glen, and Beverly Glen is a really good little downhill. It's, I don't know, about a tenth of a mile both directions. It goes down and then it goes up. Okay. It's just kind of a good little rut, the little downhill, and then a little uphill right after the street. You can see that little notch right there. Let's see, it's 289 foot. Let's see, 280 foot, 250. That's about a 30-foot drop. That's about a 30-foot drop, and then about what is that, a 20-foot gain from about 150 to 160, about a 10-foot gain going out. So it's a bigger drop going out on the way back. It's a bigger climb than the drop, the reverse when you're going the other direction. But so anyway, that's this little kicker right here. I used to live right up the street, right halfway on Beverly Glen, right there. And I used to think when I was pace leading, yeah, I could go home, have lunch, take a shower, then go back. I'm only, a couple blocks away, and then I could go back. But I was pace leading, so did I do that? No, I was true to my group. Thank you very much. Anyway, enough of that. Then you have a little slight, excuse me, let's take a step back. When you hit, let's move this down here. There we go. When you hit Westwood Boulevard, Westwood is right there. I mean, you do have a little, right there's Beverly Glen, then you got a nice little downhill. When you hit Westwood Boulevard, what was a little downhill for a few blocks on Santa Monica Boulevard. This whole thing is Santa Monica Boulevard from the finish line from before Century City on. You now have a big uphill. Just slow it down. Um, um, Here's an idea. We talked about carbohydrate intake last week at wanting to get in about 40 to 60, depending on the size of your being, right? If the average person, if you're like 150 pounds, I don't care if you're a man or a woman, if you're about 150 pounds, let's call that the average size human. I mean, obviously there are people who weigh like 250 pounds, linebackers on football teams are just solid muscle, 250 pounds or whatever. You're going to need more than that. And they're very petite, usually women who might be 90 pounds. Um, you're obviously going to need less than that. But figure you want to try and take in as much in the way of carbohydrate The average person could stomach about 66 plus grams of carbohydrate, meaning sugar, which you'll take in the form of gels. You'll take in electrolyte, the sport drink that's on the course. Um, Something I forgot to mention, we'll go back to in a minute, but is where the gels will be on the course that they're handing it out in two places. But hang on. Um, from mile 25, you may want to take in one of your gels. Always have extra. Always have extra gels because, like, if you screwed it up at the beginning in the first 6 miles, you may want to, like I said, take in an extra gel. Have a plan B. What if you pick a gel up and another gel or two fall out of that same pocket and they're on the course and all these people are running right at you and you don't want to stop because you'll get trampled and you're not even sure where your gel went. Have extra gels just in case you drop one or two or you need to take an extra one in. Um, but right at mile 25, excuse me, right at Westwood, right about mile 19 and a half going out, um, you may want to take a gel because you're about to hit this uphill and you may want to take a gel with caffeine in it. So right now is a really good time. We're going to mention this again with taper. Right now is a really good time to start weaning yourself off drinking coffee and tea with caffeine. You can always have coffee without, decaffeinated or tea that's herbal without caffeine. But start slowly weaning yourself off of caffeine, maybe half a cup less of whatever of caffeinated whatever you're drinking, coffee or tea or whatever, a day less, half a cup less, and start to quickly get off caffeines so that you can have a couple weeks of no caffeine so that when you take in at Westwood, a gel with caffeine in it, it will impact your system and you'll suddenly feel energized. It fakes your subconscious brain to think you have way more carbohydrate, meaning glycogen. A glycogen is basically sugar that carbohydrate resides right in your muscle. It's kind of like a honey-like, white honey-like substance. At any rate, we've talked about in the past a lot. Right there, right at Westwood Boulevard, right where my little dot is, that might be a great place to. Where did my dot go? What happened to my dot? Anyway, right in there might be a great place for you. There's my dot for you to take a gel with caffeine in it. You might even want to buy a gel with 50 grams of carbohydrate or even 100 grams of carbohydrate, whatever. That might be a really good place. Right there is Westwood Boulevard. Right there is where a little after is where the hills begins. Right after Westwood Boulevard. Um, that's right about mile 19 something. It's a little over 19. Um, I take it back. Going out, there's no real mile marker there. It's probably like 19 and a half, something like that. At any rate, from there to there, right? So you're going all the way, all this, excuse me, whoops, all this. Here's Santa Monica Boulevard. There's Westwood. All this is still Santa Monica Boulevard, a little uphill, right? And all this is Sepulveda, all that is just a slight uphill. It's not huge uphill, but it is a slight uphill. And then into Brentwood, you're still on a slight uphill. You're on Wilshire Boulevard right there, headed toward Brentwood, halfway down Wilshire before you hit San Vicente, halfway from Sepulveda to San Vicente. Um, that's still uphill. Okay. And then you do hit a little downhill, but in Brentwood, here, right there, you're hitting San Vicente, right? That's San Vicente. Lot of people in there, a lot of cowbells, a lot of screaming, a lot of, there's an island in the middle and there are tons of people in the island on both sides of both streets. It's a lot of people in that area who come out to watch the marathon from Santa Monica. You can see on the chart, on the elevation chart, it's really a lot of up and down, just but slight, ever so slight up and down all the way through Brentwood, all the way in Brentwood to the U-turn, and then out of Brentwood. It's just a little tiny unseen rollers that you'll just kind of slow you down a little bit. Um, but one block, you'll note right there, because of Santa Monica City Council wanting too much money, you'll note one block east of Bundy. This big street right there is Bundy, right about where Santa Monica begins, the city. One block, small block, you'll see the traffic light. That's Bundy. That's a little bit too far. We don't go to that traffic light. We don't go quite to Bundy because, yes, thanks to Santa Monica City Hall, who wants too much money. We do a U-turn at one block, small block, right around the island. You'll note that the island has a break in it, and you U-turn around that island, and now you're coming back the other side of San Vicente. And now it's again that same little unseen, little tiny rollers all the way back to all the way back down San Vicente. And as you round the bend where the island ends, and you take that kind of rounded turn to the right, and it's still San Vicente in this little area where my dot is, you do have a little downhill, but then you also have a little uphill on Wilshire, right? This area here was downhill. What was down is now up. But here's the good news. What was up to that point on Wilshire is now down all the way to Westwood Boulevard. All this in here where my little dot is, all the way to Westwood Boulevard, right about there, right before Westwood Boulevard or so, um, is downhill. You can see it on the elevation chart at the bottom of my screen. And that's all downhill. The problem is save up for this. And hopefully somewhere in Brentwood, you took another gel with caffeine in it, maybe on Sepulveda coming down the street. Maybe you took another gel with caffeine in it. It's a lot of carbohydrate in a short period of time. Do the math. If you're doing, you should note, if you're doing precision gels, those are 30 grams of carbohydrate per hour. You'd have to buy a gel with caffeine in it. I'm not even sure they make precision gel with caffeine in it. I think they do make a gel with caffeine. And their powder. They make powder with a lot of minerals. Keep in mind, here's a piece of information that you wouldn't know. It's all brand new this year. They will have packets of salt. I'm not recommending, but if you're in trouble, if you're sodium depleted, they will have, because Precision Nutrition. I mentioned this to Lucy. Lucy mentioned it to the head, the person who's actually in charge of all the race directors, Stacy, who's this great lady who I love dearly. She went out and bought like all these packets of salt at water tables that you could throw into a little glass of water, cup of water, and pinch the cup like we always do, kick it back, and you have salt water. So if you're doing precision gels only, and it's a hot day, if it's a hot day, you're going to need more sodium, right? Unless you're taking in mineral pills that have sodium. But there will actually be the chance to do salt in water at the water table. Just throw it in there, drink it down, and you will get a lot of sodium into you, right? Salt contains sodium, right? So that's new this year. You'll see it out there, um, and that has not happened before. But just as a backup, plan B, something to consider. If you've dropped all your mineral pills and oh my God, what am I going to do? It's getting up into the 80s. I'm baking out here. Just grab a little packet of salt, dump it in the water, and pinch the cup, kick it back. There's your sodium. Problem solved. Thank you, Stacy, our head vice president, and I need she's in charge of all activity. You know, she's in charge of the road runners. She's in charge of the race directors. Um, she's in charge of all of that. And then Murphy, of course, is in charge of all of the physical finances and legalities and contracts and all that. He's our CEO, in case you didn't know who the top people are. All of them. Stacy, by the way, is a former Ironman triathlete. She's a numerous marathoner. I've seen her running dozens of marathons herself. And Murphy, same kind of thing. He was actually at one point in charge of Ironman worldwide. All these people are former athletes. Murphy was a college swimmer. All of these people are former athletes, and still, still athletes. Stacy's extremely athletic. Anyway, just so in case you didn't know that, a little bit about the people above us. Andrew, in charge of the warehouse, ran our 6 miles with us and then kept going last Saturday. He's a marathoner himself. At any rate, I think he did a marathon last weekend. Regardless, there you go. So from Westwood Boulevard, right in here, whoops, right about in there, you have this slight unseen uphill at about mile 25. Westwood is actually, you'll see the sign, mile 25, right at Westwood Boulevard. And there is, if you look at our elevation chart, it's a slight unseen uphill. It's from what, 230 foot to 260 foot. You're talking about 30 foot in about, what is that? About really about almost a mile there from, yeah, 24.8 to 26 something, 25 something, almost a mile. You got almost a mile of just this unseen 30-foot uphill in a mile is not that much, but it's enough to just wear you down at the point of the race where it's at. You won't really see it, but you'll feel it. Okay. Then you hit Beverly Glen again, and now you got a bigger downhill. What was that? That 20, 30-foot downhill. And then you got a 10-foot climb again, or excuse me, the reverse. You got a, what was it, a 10-foot drop and then a 20 something foot climb over like a tenth of a mile. You get over it real quick. But keep in mind, if you have all that caffeine in you and you've gotten caffeine out of your system for a couple of weeks, slowly, got it, don't go cold turkey because it is a drug. You don't want to go through withdrawal symptoms. It's a legal drug. It's caffeine. We're not talking about anything illegal here, but it is a drug, caffeine. So slowly, like I said, wean yourself off of, half a cup a day of coffee, less, whatever. But right in there, that caffeine could really help you out. That extra kick of gel could really help you out, or whatever. Keep taking in that electrolyte. Look at all these water stops. Just look at this elevation chart from the beginning all the way to the end. All of these water stations with electrolyte and water both at every one of these little blue drops. Okay. And then you hit the finish line at Century City, right on Santa Monica Boulevard, unless you are over, like, I think it's like, I don't know, they start tearing down the finish line, actually. To be honest, officially it's 6.5 hours. To be truthful, I don't think it's still 8.5 hours till they even begin to start tearing down the finish line. And then they divert the finish line to Avenue of the Stars, which is like right next to it. Let me show you the finish line. Where are we? Whoops. right here, we can zoom in a little bit. You can see right here is the mall, Century City Mall, right in here, which we'll talk about in a second. And they divert, the finish line is like, this is actually questionable. It seems to be the finish line. You see this little U driveway, this circle driveway right there? It's the finish line is usually right at the end of the driveway. Okay. Somehow I'm not sure about this map. Anyway, that's usually where it is. Um, they divert that to the equal distance on Avenue of the Stars, and they have a little tiny little arch. And after about 8.5 hours, you can just turn the corner there. There'll be people showing you to turn the corner. And you finish there, you still get the food, you still get a medal, you still get even the slowest walkers who come in. I've been there at 12 hours. They're still logging in official times that they're writing them down at this point, and then they'll email them in. So you will eventually get an official finish time on the website. You get the bars, you get all of the protein, the chocolate milk, you get whatever it is that they have at the finish line, you get a medal, all still there. Even if you finish after like 8.5 hours, 14 hours, there are people still coming in to Avenue of the Stars, that little makeshift finish area. So there you have it. And there's your finish line. Let's talk briefly logistics. Looking at Avenue of the Stars, there is parking in Century City Mall where I will pay, I think it was like 30, 35 bucks. Um, I'll park my wife's car there and she'll finish and she'll go to the car and drive home. Um, I may park my car over here the night before off of Santa Monica Boulevard. There's some parking on the side street up above Santa Monica Boulevard, that little side street there. But regardless, um, there's some metered parking that's off on Sunday after Saturday night at 7 or something. Anyway, logistically, the pickup part where the buses are, I just want to show you where the buses pick you up if you're going to Century City to ride the bus in the morning to the stadium, right? The buses meet you like right over here on Avenue of the Stars. This is, am I right? Oh, sorry, wrong. That's Constellation. This is Olympic. Okay. So you're talking about almost a mile down Avenue of the Stars from the finish area. If you park here, you got a good bit of a walk. There is parking in this area over here. You may want to, by the way, go to the LA Marathon website. Go to on the left, you'll see one of those little menu items is parking. Go to parking, and you may want to pre-buy parking now. Print out the little page that you put on the dashboard of your car, and it'll have a QR code, and you'll basically be able to drive right into wherever it is in this area. Either the mall or there's parking over here, there's parking here, there's parking down in this area here, these parking lots underground usually at these giant skyscrapers underneath them. You may want to do that now so parking doesn't fill up. Usually doesn't. There's always some parking somewhere. But if you know parking, the mall sometimes takes a longer period to get out of, depending. Um, I can tell you where there's free parking, but this right over here, just south of Olympic, is where the buses, and I'm talking about a lineup of buses, um, tons of them. That's where you get the free bus. Wear your bib number. You may want to put your bib number on your shirt the night before or 2 nights before. Get it all ready. Put your shoes out there, your shirt, shorts, your shirt, your bib number attached. Get all ready the night before, if not the day before, just so you don't forget something. I've heard tons of stories. People forgot their shoes. They come in flip-flops and oh my God, I forgot my running shoes. Please don't do that. You can probably put your flip-flops in the bag and wear your running shoes. Don't forget your running shoes. But that's where the bus pickup is before, and your ticket for the bus is your bib number. If you don't have a bib number, they're not really supposed to let you on. People do sneak on the buses without a bib because there's so many people there. But yeah, even if you're wearing a sweatshirt over your bib number, you can always just lift your sweatshirt up and show them your bib number. I mean, big deal. That's where you get the bus. Okay. Free parking. If you continue down Avenue of the Stars, this is all Avenue of the Stars. This is just an island in the middle. Beyond Galaxy Way, oh, whoops, all the way down to Pico. It's a fair distance. There is a go down Pico that there's no parking in here, but right here is Fox Studio, right? And right here on Motor, this big, um, this big park. That's a golf course. This is Fox Studio over here. This area. This golf course, there's parking all the way down Motor on this opposite side of the street. And you'll see a giant parking lot right in here, right off of Motor. Yeah, it is a bit of a trek down Pico to Avenue of the Stars. There's Century Park East. Where's Avenue of the Stars? Oh, here. To So from Pico, right here, Motor to Pico to whoops, Avenue of the Stars, and your busing right there. It's a good mile walk, but it is free parking right there next to that park off of Pico or on Motor right off of Pico across the street from the park. So there is free parking there. Um, there you have it. Um, let's see. Oh, let me get rid of all this. Whoops, stop sharing that. And let's go back to my PowerPoint presentation. And we've already talked about what not to do, the major mistakes. And let's go to, okay, taper. I want to nail this down. The last 2.5 to 3 weeks, if you're in groups 4 hour 909 pace, 4 hour finish time or faster, that's group 4 or faster, group 0 to 4, you have a 2.5 week taper on schedule 5 or schedule 0, schedule 6. That's not a published schedule. Group 0 and 1 are on schedule 6. Yeah, on schedule 6, an unpublished schedule. Groups 2 through 4 are on, really 1B through 4 are on schedule 5, that's published. You have a 2.5 week taper on the group on that level 5 schedule. Everybody else has a 3 week schedule. Like I said, it takes 10 to 14 days for an exercise to alter your physiology, meaning more capillary veins and arteries, mitochondria, oxidative enzymes, more red blood cells, hemoglobin, stroke rate, on and on and on, venous return strength, all these things that enable us on race day. You don't get any benefits of any of those things outside of about 10 days to 14 days. So definitely 2 weeks before, even 10 days before, you're already pushing it because you're going to have tired muscles. You want your hormone levels to build to a peak. So I would say even before that 10 to 14 day period, you want to rebuild hormone levels. And you benefit greatly from that 2.5 to 3 week taper, depending on what schedule you're on. Like I said, schedule 4 through schedule 1, you have a 3 week taper. Schedule 5 and schedule 6, the unscheduled sketch 6 schedule, you have 2.5 week taper. but you really do benefit from those full taper weeks. Please, please, please don't screw that up. You benefit more from that period of taper than maybe any other period in your training. Let me repeat that. You gain more during the taper weeks than any other period phase of your taper, of your training, your periodization phases. Um, and that's called the final exponential taper, where you're dropping down exponentially. You're dropping down exponentially from after this week, if you're on a 3 week taper, or after that a week and a half from now or a week from now on Thursday. If you're on schedules 5 or 6, you're dropping down exponentially. And then even the last week, you're dropping down a little more to zero on Friday, zero Friday, and then a little kicker, which we'll talk about in a minute, a little run, 10, 20 minute at marathon race pace, no faster than marathon race pace, 10, 20 minutes on Saturday morning. We're going to do that at Griffith Park as a group if you want. We've done that last year, the year before. I'm not sure we always did it at Griffith Park. We will this year at Griffith Park. It's going to be on your newsletter. That's the day before the marathon. We're talking over 3 weeks from now. At any rate, then you do your marathon. That's the final exponential taper and the way it works. And of course, your season through build, taper, build, taper, build, taper. There it is in red, build, taper, then exponential taper, and sort of your final, it should actually drop down a little bit more than what it's looking. I drew this. It's not really a flat line, but anyway. And then your hormone levels. They go in opposition. We've talked about this in the past. So, your final exponential taper, that big drop, you've got big gains in hormone levels, and those hormones are going to give you a truckload of energy, a truckload of rebuilding muscle tissue quicker. Human growth hormone is going to rebuild muscle tissue. Creatine kinase is going to rebuild muscle tissue, and you get way more of those hormones and many others in that final exponential taper. So that's why people hate the final taper and doing less and less and less, because they're jumping out of their skin because their hormone levels are at an all-time high. You peak on race day, ready to murder the world, and then you put that feeling into your race and you kill it. Got it? And you will have a lot of energy at the start line. Hold back, listen to your breathing. You're going to want to just race the hell out of the Kenyans at the first mile. Hold back, listen to your breathing. Those first 6 miles are so important. Don't screw up taper. Don't screw up the final taper. Don't screw up the first 6 miles of the LA Marathon. Um, and whoop, whoop, whoop. There we go. So there we go. From here on in, I know I mentioned all of this last week. 8 to 9 hours of sleep the last 3 weeks, or as best as you can, especially the last week. Try and wean yourself off of alcohol at least minimum of 10 days before the marathon, because it can take 10 days or more to clear your system of alcohol. It resides in your body in fat reserves a long period of time. Um, Taper, like I mentioned a couple times, taper off caffeine. Start watching what you're eating. Listen to your mother. She always told you, eat your vegetables. Yep, eat your vegetables and healthy foods, healthy sources of fat, meaning more omega 3s and the source of like olive oil or olives, guacamole, let the fish, all great healthy forms of fat. I don't do fish. I'm vegan, but at any rate, all healthy sources of fat. I do actually eat olives and avocados for healthy sources of fat and olive oil too. But at any rate, you really want for your, you know, you You'd want less food overall for your taper because you're doing less volume. This week, you may be hungry all the time, especially if you're not getting a certain amount of protein, a certain amount of fat, a certain amount of carb, missing out on any one of them or not getting enough of any one of those three, what we call macronutrients, will cause you to be hungry all the time right now, especially because you're doing so much. This is peak week volume. You're using a lot of calories, um, and all three of those macronutrients: fat, protein, fats, and definitely carbs. Um, so now you're taking in more. Once you hit taper, you're using less calories, you're burning less calories, so eat less. But you still need about, call it about 60% carbs, 30% fat, and about 10% protein. If you're eating meat, you only need like the palm of your hand size worth of meat, something like that. Chicken, red meat. I don't recommend red meat. In fact, the CDC about 2 years ago came out with a study saying red meat um, may not be that healthy for the first time ever. They came out with that study, and the CDC tends to be extremely conservative in what they say about food. But at any rate, although maybe not so much today, but regardless, that was about 2 years ago. Um, so, carb loading. Really, the last week, you may want to take in a few more carbohydrate. If you find the last week that you put on maybe a pound more, that's not a bad thing because you're going to use it during your race. You're going to burn off that fat during your marathon. We're talking marathon. We're not talking 5K here. Okay. Um, Hopefully, as we've discussed many times, lower the heart rate, the more fat you use as your heart rate goes up and up and up and up and up and up, as it will during the course of the race, your fat consumption comes down, your carbohydrate consumption goes up. You have a limited volume of carbohydrate, right? So the higher your heart rate is, the more you tap into that limited volume of carbohydrate, but you do have a big volume of fat at lower heart rate. If you hit the wall, meaning you run low on carbs, that limited reservoir, you got a ton of fat at low heart rate. You'll just walk it to the finish line, guaranteed. And every take in a gel, you'll have a little more carbs, a little more glycogen. You'll be able to run for a little bit. Then you'll run out of glycogen again or run low, and then you'll be walking again. And then you'll take in more carbs and you'll be running, jogging a little bit, a minute or two, and then you'll be walking again. And on and on and on, you'll get to the finish line. Um, the excitement of the finish line, as we discussed last week, might even take you through to just running, spiking your adrenaline. Remember, we talked about that story that you have in your back pocket, that monster that's chasing you down the street, something, or that kid that was mean to you and bullied you when you were a kid. There they are next to you, that imaginary idea you have in your head that will spike your adrenaline that you can use the last mile or a couple miles. That it's spiking your adrenaline will fake your brain like caffeine, just like caffeine, will fake your brain to subconscious brain to think you have way more glycogen than what you do. You'll be able to run a little faster, get through that. Maybe after you hit the wall, maybe the last half mile or so, a little faster. Um, if you want to replay my first 6 mile discussion or even this, it will be on YouTube tonight. Last week's first 6 mile discussion is already on YouTube. Um, uh, we just talked about parking. Yes, you can gear check. We're going to be in Dodger Stadium. You need to get your wristband to get into Dodger Stadium at the Expo. So at one end, the east end of the Expo, it's all outside at Dodger Stadium, Friday and Saturday, the 2 days before the marathon. And Lucy is going to do a discussion on all the logistics. I'm just giving you a few. Remember this. The more you hear things, the better you remember them. So that's why I'm going over them now. Um, you need you to get your bib number at one end of the expo. Then there's the ASICS, huge ASICS store. It's all outside in the parking lot, right where we were standing, right where we lined up. That's where the expo will be, basically outside of that, a little beyond that is where the expo will be. And then the other side of the ASIC store, you'll see just east of the ASIC store, there are little blue kind of metal fences on either side of the ASIC store that you kind of just walk through. They're free to walk through. They're little doors, blue metal doors that are open the whole time, or just open them you know, and go through the ASIC store or buy something at the ASIC store. Bib numbers one side, we're at the other side. And then beyond us is where all the vendors are, just logistically. Make sure you stop by our awning. It's the standard blue, navy blue, LA Roadrunner awning. And there'll be all sorts of things there. But like a graph that you just saw of the whole LA Marathon will be on the back wall and whatever. Places they actually have couches that Lucy gets. She does all of this. You can sit down on a couch and hang out with us. Seriously cool. At any rate, get your wristband there. We'll point to where the stairs are that you go up race day morning in the dark till you get to where we are inside the stadium in the hallway. We have our own bathrooms. It's warmer in the hallway. You can watch the most boring baseball game of all time because no player shows up to the baseball game. Marathon race day morning. It's dark down there, but you can imagine something. I don't care. But you can sit in the bleachers and watch nothing go on. It's kind of cool in a creepy sort of emotional sort of way. You can imagine the ghosts that used to play on Dodger Stadium field. At any rate, that's really cool. Um, After the marathon, they do have metal engraving inside the Century City Mall. Usually, it used to be, and I think it probably still will be again, the major interior courtyard inside Century City Mall. And gear check, I was about to say, as soon as we walk out of the Loge hallway in Dodger Stadium, the hallway, like the second floor of Dodger Stadium, whatever it is, the Loge level, you walk down the stairs, and right across the little side street where is the row, you'll see them first thing in the morning, the row of UPS trucks. Now, we will leave in time for you to take the clear plastic bag. We want you to use the clear plastic bag that you can put all your stuff in, your winter coat if it's going to be a cold morning, whatever it is. Please be careful. Sometimes gear check stuff can get misplaced or lost or God knows what, or thrown around because the truck is bouncing up and down, whatever, when it's driving to the finish. You may not want to I have in the past put my crappy old cell phone in there when I didn't care. But you may want to give your cell phone to somebody that you're going to meet at a certain place after the finish line. Um, we may not want to put a valuable in that gear check bag, is what I'm saying. Write there are little white little squares. Write your bib number on those little white squares on that clear plastic bag. And the trucks have numbers that your bib number will correspond to. So like 0 through 1,000 will be on one truck. 2,000 to 3,000 bib number will be on another truck. And whatever your bib number is, if it's 20,100, whatever, there will be a truck with 20,000 through 23,000 or whatever it is. Go to that truck and hand them your bag with whatever it is you want. That's, like I said, right across the street from where we will be in the stadium. We will have ample time from the point where we leave to get to that gear check area before they close up shop. It's right across the walkway. Takes like 1 minute to get to it. Before that, and we will let everybody know when we're going to do it. Same as last year, same setup, same deal. We'll have a massive group picture with whatever it is, six, 700, 800 people in the picture. We will then have my quickie little 2 minute story, and then we're out of there. And that will all take, let's see, the race starts at what, 6:50, 7 o'clock, something, I don't remember which, 6:50 or 7 o'clock. We will be out of there certainly. I think gear check closes by like 6:30. We'll be out of there a little before 6:30. So you can easily go to those trucks, throw your stuff on the truck. They do wait. If there's a line, they will get everybody through that line and get everybody on that truck with their bags. Not on the truck, just your bags on the truck. You get it. They're pretty cool about that. I've never heard of somebody who is standing there where they just shut the door. I've never heard that ever happening. They're really cool about it. Um, at any rate, and then you have more than enough time to walk around and get in your corral, be it the closed corral or the open corral. I'm going to say this again, and then I'm pretty much done. Whoops. Is if everyone gets corral B, there are people who just pay for road runners just to get into corral B. But I got to tell you, your pace leaders, unless you are a 3:30, which is 8 minute per mile pace, to 3:50 marathon finisher, which is about 3:45, something like that, finish time. Unless you're about a 3:30 to 3:50, that's the official times that will be in that corral normally. I do not recommend to anyone to be in corral B unless you like love the idea of finishing way ahead, starting way ahead of everybody. There are people 8 minute pace to 8:45 pace who are going to be bumping your shoulder. They're going to be screaming, "Get the hell out of the way! Get to the side! Get out of my way!" It's not the pleasant place where you want to be. Years and years, we're talking 20 years ago, they had all of us pace leaders in all of us road runners starting in corral B, and we all complained like, I didn't know, why the hell am I in corral B? I do not want to be here. In the few years that I pace led and they put us in corral B, when they first started the corral thing many, many years ago, that's what they did. And I think they pretty quickly realized it was a mistake. We are the official pace leaders of the LA Marathon now. Your pace leader is your pace leader on race day, but they are also, you need to share them with the entire LA Marathon. So your pace leader, unless they are 3:30 to 3:50, they will not be in Corral B. So if you want to run with your group, you want to run with your pace leader. If they're not 3:30 to 3:50 finish times, don't go to Corral B, even though you're capable of getting a B bib. The bibs start with a letter and then the numbers after that. Um, if you get a B bib, you can go into Corral C, D, E, right? Or B. So if you are in appropriately, go to the LA Marathon website. Lucy will go over this in a couple weeks, but go to the LA Marathon website, look for corrals and look at the different paces. I confess the corrals stop, the closed corrals stop with 5 hours. So if your group is slower than 5 hours, if your group is 5:10, 5:20, whatever it is, or I guess it's 5:15, 5:30, 5:45, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, if your group is slower than 5 hours, 100% your group will be in the open corral. 100% if you're slower than 5 hours, your group will be in the open corral. None of your pace leaders will be in a closed corral if you're slower than 5 hours. Okay, enough of all that. enough of all of this. I want to thank you all for listening to this long diatribe that has probably taken me forever. I didn't even know what time it is. Um, Forever. It's almost 8 o'clock. I always like ending with this note: train smart, but train to win. Because if you don't, you won't. And if you do, you just might. And I thank you all very much. And don't forget, taper coming up. Train smart, but train to win. But if you don't, you won't. And if you do, you just might. I thank you. And I'll see you all at the finish line because I will be standing there at the finish line. I get everybody started at the starting line. I drive to the finish, and I'm standing right dead center in the finish. Well, a few feet, 20 feet back from the actual line usually, but I will be there. Um, Again, thank you all for listening tonight. And if anybody's got a quick question about what I just talked about, otherwise, please ask either in the chat, or we got a bunch of the chat, or verbally. Otherwise, I'm going to end this discussion, but let me get to the chat right now. Um, Oh,
Thanks,
Alan
Phil.
J. talking about probably West Hollywood says better legs. Christina, I love coconut flavor too. Talking about electrolyte. Um, and there you go. Yeah, love Dodger Stadium. Alan, thank you. Yeah, I do too. The indoors at Dodger Stadium beforehand is great. Um, and Belinda, thank you. I thank you, Belinda. Frankie, what do you suggest during taper? Weight? Oh, weightlifting. Oh, wait. What do you do for strength training? Is the question Frankie asks. Basically, in general, really quick. Let me get my chair out of the way. Um, you got your basic. Whoops. My auto thing is what going wacko here. Um, you got your squats, right? You got your rear lunges, right? Um, you got you you can do um, get on the let's see squat. I should know this. So squats, you can do a bunch of squats. You can do a bunch of lunges. You can do you can do if you got weights, dumbbells. You can do fireman's carry, just walking around with dumbbells, just like that. Fireman's carry, they call it. Just walking around with 20-pound weights or 10-pound or five, whatever it is. You could do, here's a really good one, is deadlift. Now, this has to do with your hips, right? Deadlift, you have two dumbbells in your hands and you're bending forward with your back perfectly straight, going down to what as far as you can go, but then you're shifting your hip forward. It's not with your back, it's not doing this, it's just plain your hands are down here, you're shifting your hips forward. That's that's deadlift, shifting the hips forward just like that and keeping your back straight. It's not lifting with your back, it's lifting with your hips. Those are some really, really good strength training moves that you can do at home. If you're in a gym, you could do seated leg extension where you got, whoop, change. Thank you. It automatically does that. I find that so strange. With sitting with your legs on a plate, pushing the plate, you can do seated leg press. You could do seated leg extension where you're sitting down and you got the little roller on your ankle and you're raising the weight, the plate as you lift your. Now, don't forget on seated leg extension when you're doing that. You don't want full range of motion. There is usually a bar to the side. You can pull a little lever and raise that bar up. So your feet are starting a little, normally it starts below the seat. With seated leg extension, you don't want to extend your knees. You want to start with that bar a little ahead, the roller starting a little ahead, and then just go up partials, not full range of motion like everybody. We're not bodybuilders. We don't want to extend our knees. You don't want to start like they normally do with your feet under the chair. Anyway, that's another one. Then leg curls with your you're kind of hunched over and the roller's on the back of your leg and you're lifting the weight up with the roller on the back of your heel. Um, all good strength training moves in a gym. You can do adductor, your inner thighs or your adductors, your abductors, your outer thigh. You can do those at home, like scissors lying on the ground, raising your one leg off the ground kind of thing, and even raising your lower leg off the ground um, for your adductors, your inner thigh. At any rate, all those things, they're ab and adductor machines. You sit down and there's a plate inside both your thighs and you push forward for adductors or abductors. The little thing is on the outside and with your knees and you push the plate up that way. Those are all in a gym. Okay. Let's see. What's your recommendation when we get, oh wait, I missed a few. Uh, got it. Got it. Got it. Okay, strength training. Okay, what's your recommendation when we get sick during taper like the flu? Um, well, whenever you get sick, drink a lot of liquid because you sweat more. You get your body's trying to cool itself. It's trying to get rid of bacteria. It's trying to get rid of virus by sweating more. So drink more, take in more hydration, all those things your mother told you to do. Drink more, drink soup, whatever it takes. Sleep way more, whenever you get sick of anything. Um, Sleep more, drink more, all of that. When you start feeling better, maybe, go for a walk, move around more. Um, but eat healthy. And like I said, you won't get sick. Hopefully, if you get more better food, better sleep, um, more hydration in general, all those things, hopefully you won't get sick. And taper. Taper becomes a really important part of this. Your immune system on Saturday or Sunday when you do your longest run is going to be hampered by that long run, but you will recover very quickly. And so time is now to start eating and drink, drinking, being healthy, sleeping. Seated leg extension at home too. Whoops. In a chair if you have oh yeah, if you have a strap or a band, you could do like a seated leg extension at home. That would work with the little bands, that you put around your ankle, all that. Yeah, absolutely. Neil, thank you for that. Let's see. Knees hurt. How do I approach 20 miles? Let's talk about that after. Individual stuff like that. I do want to get to after I turn off the recording. Why does my GPS show 26.4 at the finish line of the marathon? It happens every time I run a marathon. Possibly you're not cutting the corners. Whenever you have a curve, if you're going the outside of the curve, around that curve, um, you're going to log more miles. You can actually log about a mile and a half more if you stay with the crowd outside of the curve, right? Instead of running inside the crowd at the where the curb is. If you run just outside the curb, that's the shortest distance. That's, about where they measure the course, a little closer to the curb theoretically. Um, so yeah, and also, every watch is designed to be a little off. I mean, they are. If you take everyone in your pace group, you will probably find slightly to the tenth of a mile different numbers that everyone has on their watches. There is that as well. So now, Paul, you may actually be coming as close to the curb as you can as you round those turns, but maybe your watch, is a little bit off. Um, they're not these watches are not perfect. Even the top of the line $1,200 Garmin Phoenix 7 or whatever it is, they're on 8 now, whatever. is not 100% perfect. They're darn perfect now, but there you go. Oh, Alan, thank you. If you're not running the tangent, the inside of just outside the curb, the tangents. Thank you. Yeah. Paul got it. Thanks. Yeah. Um, any more questions, be it verbally, just scroll your cursor across the screen and the command bar will pop up. You can click on the audio button, that little antique microphone, or you could, and then you'll be able to talk, or you can type it into the chat. Any more questions going once? Then we'll go back to the knee thing. Going twice, going three times. Anybody? So let's turn it off, turn the recording off. Anyone else wants to stay on, please do so. I'll stay on myself. But with that, I'm going to say good night to all the people watching the recorded version of this. Thank you all for chiming in for such a long discussion. And I promise not to do that as much in the future. Thank you all for watching. Everybody else who's live, hang on. And for those with the recorded, good night and have a
Good
great
night, Coach.
LA Marathon. We'll see you at the finish line. Take care. Bye.
You're the best, Coach. You're the best.
Oh, well, thank you.
Aloha. Have a great night. Aloha, Coach.
Oh, aloha. Yeah. Oh, let me stop the recording. Oh, wait a minute. I
Bye.
probably did.